Welcome back to Ayaztech. This is the part 8 of the series where we are building the full stack Google Contacts clone from scratch for the beginners. So in this part, we have built the create contact page. So if you click on the create contact page, then it would take you to this page. Here you can provide the basic details for every contact. And also we used some JavaScript. For example, if you type something here and if you click on the cross button, then it would remove the text from that input. And also we have made this camera icon functional. If user clicks on that, then you will be able to pick a picture from your computer files. And you can see that it is now being shown in the background of this avatar. So if you want to learn how I did this, then please continue watching this video. Next, I will create the create contact page where user will be able to create a new contact. So let's begin. If user clicks on this create contact button, then I will open a new page. So first of all, we will have to create a new page in the pages folder. So I am going to create that file. That would be a contact editor.html. And here I will copy paste the contact.html file because I want to have same placeholder. I will remove the extra things that we don't need. For example, in this page, we need the header placeholder, we need the content container, and we also need the sidebar placeholder. But other than that, we don't need anything inside the content div. So I am going to select all of that and delete it. After that, I don't need the dialog as well, so I will delete it. Next, I'm going to open this page to see how it looks like. So let's type contact dash editor, and you can see that we have the contact editor page working correctly. It has the content that is visible, and it also has the sidebar and the header. So let me open the Google Contacts website to see how the create contact page looks like. So, all right. We will start from the header and then we will complete the other parts. So I'm going to remove this and here, but before that, I will replace the ID. In this case, it is going to be contact editor page, and inside the content, we need header and the content. So I would say div dot contact editor header, and after that we need contact editor content. So if we look at this header, it is very familiar, very similar to the header that we already have made earlier. So for that, if you go back and if you open the contact, you will see that we already have made a header. So it is almost similar like this. So we can copy paste this design. So instead of writing all of the code again, I am just going to the contact page and I will copy paste the header. So this is the header that I will copy and paste it here. And I don't need this ID because we already have the parent element with the ID that we want. So let's just remove this one and this one. Next, I need to reuse the styles of this section. So for that, I will search for the styles against this ID contact header. So let's open the SASS file, that is index.scss, and search for this selector. And as we want to reuse this style, so I will copy this code and I will move it here. And I guess we need to add another bracket. Okay. So I would say so here I will add the selector for two elements. So this is for one element for the contact page, and this selector would be for the contact editor. So if we go to the contact editor, then on the body we have the ID with contact editor page. So I will add it here. And after that, this is the contact editor header. So I will copy this selector as well and paste it here. Now I'm saying that I want to add same styles for both of these selectors. One is for the contact page and second is for the contact editor page. So let's test it. So if I go back to the contact editor page, it should same. So in order to go to the contact editor page, I have to link the create contact button with that page. So let's go back to the sidebar file, and this is the create contact button. I will add uh, an event on it that will be on click. On click, I want to redirect this page to the contact editor. So type location dot you can say window dot location is equal to, then I will type the name, and the name would be pages contact that contact dash editor dot html. So let's see if that works. Okay, perfect. You can see that I have made the create contact button enable. So now you can go to the create contact page from this button, and also you can see that the header is exactly same like it was in the contact page. So now we can customize this header. We can remove the unnecessary things one by one. First of all, we don't need the title here because in the original page there is no title. So I am going to remove the title from this page. So in the contact editor, I am going to remove this text because I don't want to make it visible. After that, instead of showing the avatar, I want to show a picture of a user picture with an icon of the camera. So if user clicks on that, then I will show a dialog where user will be able to pick the image from their system. So I also don't need all of the labels at this moment. So I will just remove them. And so I have removed the character from it, from the avatar, and I will add an additional class to it that would be, I can add another class that would be ca camera icon button. You can call it whatever you want. So I will now search for the avatar, and then I will style this. I will style the avatar with the class name camera icon button. So let's search for it. Search for avatar. Okay. Here I would say if there is any class camera icon button on it, then I will uh, change the background color. Actually, I don't need the background color at all. Instead of that, I want to add an image on it. So we have to get that image from the Font Awesome website. So let's search for the user icon on that website. Uh, yeah, we need this icon. So let's pick it. I'm going to copy this one. And here I will paste it. So let's see how it looks like. You can see it is already aligned properly. Now I need to increase the font size to make it large. So for that, type font size 100 pixel. Let's see how it looks like. Nothing changed. Let me try 200. Actually, it should be on the uh, FA class. FA class is the font awesome class. Now you can see that font size is increasing. I will try to increase it further. So let's try 150. 150 is, I guess, too much. So let's reduce it to 120 pixel. And now I will change the background color to gray. So for that, let's change the background color to it should be lighter than this one. So let's pick some lighter shade by this tool. I guess that is fine. After that, I need to add the camera icon over here. So camera icon would also be using the font awesome. So we have to be careful. We are now targeting the class.fa, and if I add the camera icon, that also would be using the FA class. So this font size would be applied on both of those icons. I can actually show you what will happen if I will add the camera icon button. So let me add a button, and here I will add the camera icon. Let's search for the camera icon. Also, let's see the demo how it will work in the original website. So if I upload a photo, for example, if I add it, I will make it very simple. I will not use all of these dialogues. I will just be using the native picture photo picker. So I will not make this kind of dialogue because this would take a lot of time, and we want to keep this course very simple and straightforward for you to understand because this is a beginner course. So you have seen that how it will work. If you pick a picture, then it will show that picture in that placeholder. So now I am going to copy paste this font awesome. And now you can see that both of these tags are using the same class FA. And we are saying that if there is any FA class inside this selector, then make it 120 pixel large in font size. That would not be good. You have seen that it is not looking good. We don't want to make the camera icon so large. So we have to uh, uh, add some different class to differentiate. So actually I can use this one. So I would say that I want to enlarge only this class with the FA user. In this way, it will not make the camera icon large. Now I am going to make the button. I am going to design the button. So I would add position absolute. And before doing that, whenever you add position absolute, then you should add position relative to the parent, so that we could achieve the desired results. Now add top 0 pixels, left top 0 pixels, left 0 pixels. I am bringing it in the center of the circle. So now I will add margin auto. Let's see how it looks like. Top. I also have to add bottom 0, I guess. Okay, but it is behaving very strange. So for that, I have to add a fixed width like this one. So let's add a fixed width on it. So width would be 50 pixel, height would also be same, and I am going to add the border radius to make it circle. I don't need a border around it. And I also need a transparent, semi-transparent black color on its background. RGBA 0 hash 00 is the code for the black, and add the 0.5 as the transparency opacity. And the color of the icon would be white. So let's add the color white. All right, and the font size should be little bit more than it is now. Font size 22 pixels or 24 pixels, or maybe 22 is sufficient. Okay, so now we still have to bring it in the middle. For that, let me see, I guess we have to add the right 0 pixel add. Okay, now it is in the middle. So to bring anything in the middle with the help of the absolute, you have to add top, left, right, and bottom 0 pixel, and then add margin auto. That would bring the object in the middle of the parent, as you have seen already. After that, I need to have the cursor icon when you hover on it, like this, cursor point. So it would make you feel like it is clickable thing. Right now it is not functional, but I will make it functional now. So functional means whenever you click on that, it would load the native file picker for you. For that, I would add the label around it. Actually, yeah. Let's wrap this button inside the label. And I would add far. And in the far, you have to specify the ID of the file input. So first of all, I will add the file input type file, and I have to give it the ID. ID would be uh, avatar file picker input. Okay. So now I can add it as a target in the for selector. So with that, it should open the native. Maybe let's add it inside the label to see if it works. No, it works only if you click on that. Actually, this approach is not working because we have wrapped it with the label, but button is position absolute. That is why it is not working. So let's try to move it inside of the button. So whenever user will click on the label, then it would trigger the input type file. So let's see if that works. Okay. So yeah, it is working, but not very accurately. The reason is that now as it is inside the button and we did not give it any width to the label. So that is why it is working randomly. So you have to click on the uh, camera icon, otherwise it will not work. You have to click on the in the center. So to fix that, I'm going to add some styles to the label as well. For that, let's style label. And I would say label should have display block and width should be 100%, height should be 100%. And let's see what it looks like. Okay, that had disturbed the layout. To fix the layout of the camera container, I would add the display flex on it, because with the help of display flex, we will be able to align it properly and easily. Align items center and justify content would also be center. So you can see that it is in the middle, but the cursor icon is not working anymore. The reason is that cursor icon is on the button, but we have added the label on it, and label uh, is taking all of the space, and whenever you hover on the button, you are actually hovering on the label. So that's it, that is why cursor point is not working. So instead of keeping the cursor on the button, I would add the cursor on the label, and now you will see the cursor icon. And also now it is working very perfectly and very smoothly. Wherever you click, it will load the file picker for you. Okay, perfect. Now, another bad thing is that the input file is visible and that is disturbing the layout. So I'm going to hide the input file input. So I'm just going to move it inside the button. It does not matter. You can keep it anywhere, but I'm just moving it inside the button so that I can just easily design it. I want to make it hidden. For that, type input display none. So we don't need to display the input. We just need to make it functional. Now you can see it is loading without showing the input type file. Okay. After that, we need to remove one button from it. I'm going to delete the delete button, and instead of edit, I would say save. Okay. Uh, After that, I need to add some inputs below that. So we will add the same amount of inputs that we added here. So for example, here we are using email, phone, and website. So I will add only 3 inputs to keep it simple. So here I would. So if you come look at it carefully, you will see that it has 2 columns every time. So here is one column, here is second column, and similarly here there are 2 columns. First column has nothing in it, but second column has the content. Okay, so let's work on it. Input. Actually, I am going to add a div row. So this would be a row. Inside a row, I would add you can say I can call it icon column. And after that, I need input column. Okay. And after it is designed perfectly, we can copy paste this row for 3 times to add our desired inputs. So in the first, I would add the font awesome icon for the user. Okay. And after that, I need the input. Okay, I have added the input, but it is not looking like in the Google contact form. So we already have designed something like it. So remember, if you click on the create label, then it will show an input with the same design. So why not we reuse the same style? So let's see if we made it global to reuse. You can see we did not make it reusable. So we have to extract this code from it and make it global so that we could reuse it. So in order to do that, actually, we don't have to do anything else. We just have to copy paste this code and move it outside. So let's go back to the index.scss and search for the input. And if you uh, look at it, it is saying it is around 51. I'm not sure if it is the correct line number. Let's see. Actually, uh, let's just search for this one. It is here. Yeah, this is one that we need. So I'm just going to cut it from here and I will move it on the top to make it global style. So now whenever I will use any input, it would automatically design it like that. So for example, you can see this is the input and it has made it like I wanted. So now I want to add the placeholder as well. And the placeholder would say uh, email. Uh, Another important field is the first very important field is the full name. Okay. And let's see how it looks like. Okay, if placeholder is looking perfect. Next, I'm going to start designing the row. So here I'm going to create the section for the contact editor page. We already have the ID contact editor page, and inside of that we have the selector, and then we have row, and every row should have display flex. And after that, I need the alignment. So I would say line item should be in center. Now you can see that icon is in the middle vertically. And also I need a gap between these two elements. For that, type gap 10 pixels. So I guess we need more gap than that. So I would add 20 pixels. And I guess 20 pixel is sufficient, but the icon color is not good. So I'm going to say in the row we have .fa class, and the color should be this. Okay. Next, we can see that the width is not so much good. So I'm going to actually add the width to its parent first. So I would say that the contact editor content Actually, let me show you how much width it is taking at this moment. So I would say I would add the border, 1 pixel solid red, and you will see that it is consuming the 100%. And if I add width 100%, then input would then this row would also take the 100%, and that would not be good, because you can see that because in the row, if I add input 100%, that would also take all of the space. It will not take here. Let me see. Actually, we have the class on it. Input column, I would copy it and I would use it. And I would say, as its parent is using the flex, so we can say flex row 1. That means it would take all of the space, available remaining space. Now you can see that it is taking the entire space. That does not look correct. So I am going to add the width to the most parent, that is the contact editor content. Here I would say the width should be, and in this case, I would not give it the fixed width. I would actually use the dynamic unit. That is, I want to use the width should be, let's try 660 VW. So if you are new to VW, normally mostly you use the pixel or percentage, but this time you are seeing VW. The meaning of VW is view width, and it is also almost same like percentage, but in this case, normally when you add the percentage, it takes the space according to its parent element. But this time, if you add the view width, then it would take 60% of the view of the screen, of the browser screen. Okay. So it will not consume the 60% of the parent element. It would consume the 60% of the size of the browser. So for example, if I inspect it, then you will see if I adjust the size, on the top right, you will see the width of the browser is changing. So that is the width that it will consider to calculate the percentage value. So if right now, if you look at that, it is saying that the width is on the top right, the width is 1330 pixels. So it will take the 60% of that width. So that's how it works. So now let's try. I have saved it, and you can see that it is taking the 60% of the view width. The reason of doing this is that I want to make it dynamic in the mobile app as well. So for example, if you reduce it, then it should not break immediately. So now it is showing the width incorrectly. So I will decrease the width more, up to 40%. And now let's increase it. Okay, perfect. Similarly, I want the same unit for the header as well. So let's inspect it to understand that where we have to add the minimum width. So that should be the minimum width. So this is the header, and inside the header we have the name section. So actually we have to give the minimum width to the name section. So let's find out the name section, and we have name section in two places. Let us understand where we have to add it. Actually, remember we have moved this content on the global area to make it reusable. So, but we forgot to delete this code because we don't need it anymore, because we already have made it reusable. So it is coming from parent. Just to make sure, let's refresh it, and you can see nothing is broken. That's mean that it is the correct decision. Now let's search for the name section, and in the name section, uh, we have to add a minimum width. Minimum width should be maybe 40 VW. Okay, I guess that is too much, so I'm going to try 30. Okay, I guess that is sufficient. Now it is not looking bad because here you can see even there are no labels, it is still taking some space. So now it is better than before. After that, if you look at the design in the content section, we have some padding on the left side. So let's add that padding, scroll to the bottom and add that padding. I want padding left 50 pixels. And yeah, we have that now. Also, I want padding, some padding on the top. That would be 20 pixels. And I guess that is acceptable now. Okay. So after that, we need another feature. Look at this cross icon. Whenever you hover your mouse on it, a cross icon appears. So what is the purpose of the cross icon? The purpose is that if you click on the cross icon, that removes the content from the input. So you can see that it would remove the content only of that input. So we have to work on that, and we have to use some JavaScript to make it functional. Some CSS would also be used to display and hide the cross icon. So first of all, let's add the cross icon. I am going back to the section here. I would add another column that would be, I would call it cross icon. And in this, I'm going to search for the cross icon again from the Font Awesome website. And this is the cross icon that I have to use. So now it's time to design it. So if you look at it, it is there visible forever and it would never go away until you hide it. So by default, it should not be visible. For that, I am going back to the CSS. And here I would say that the cross icon should be display none, and it should be visible only if we hover on the row icon. Okay, so that's how you tell it. If we hover on the row icon, row element, then we should display block the cross icon. Okay, but there is something wrong that I can see. The wrong is that the width is increased and decreased every time the icon is visible. That is not behavior that we want. The width should not be changed for the input. So for that, I am going to make some changes. For example, I would add cross icon column, and I would add some width. So I would not make it display none. I would make the icon display none. Okay, for that type FA display none. So I am saying that within this column, make the icon display none, not the container. So I would keep the container visible all the time, and I would add some fixed width. For that, I will width.
Use face recognition to unlock.
Type width 40 pixels, height 40 pixels. Okay. Now, if I hover on it, the then the icon inside this element should become display block. We can see now the border is not growing for the input, but the icon is visible. But the issue is that the alignment of the icon is not correct. We have to align in middle vertically. For that, I am going to add some display flex styles to the parent and add align item center. This In this way, it would keep it in the middle. Now, I would also add justify content center. I guess let's try to decrease the width of it. Uh, Let me see how much space it is taking, because it is actually there is gap that we added. Remember, we added the gap 20 pixels. That is why it is showing too far. So to make it closer, for that I have to add margin left in minus. For that, add margin. Actually, we don't need the justify content. Just add margin left minus 10 pixels, and let's see. Okay. If you look at that, yeah, that is fine. After that, we have to remove all of the content from the input if user clicks on this icon. Also, we have to add the cursor icon on this icon, cursor point. So I am hovering on it, and it is showing the cross icon. Now let's use some JavaScript to hide, remove the input text if you click on that. So I would say on click, if user clicks on that, then I would get the parent of this element. I would say this dot closest, and in this closest function, I would pass this selector. So it would select this element, and then I would add that query selector, and in that I want to select this input, and then I would say dot value should be empty. So I have selected the input, this input in dynamic way. I did not have to add any class or ID to this input. It would pick by itself, and I have added the value is equal to empty. So let's see if that works. Yes, it is working perfectly. Nice. So this is the small piece of JavaScript that you can use to remove the text from the input by clicking on any other element. Okay. After that, now we can copy paste this row to add the remaining things. Okay. So after the full name, I need the email, and as this is the email, so the type can be the email. And here, instead of the user, I want email icon. I don't know if there is any email icon. No, there is no email icon. So I would search for the email icon from Autasm. It might be envelope. Yeah. So it is the envelope icon. So let's copy the icon and paste it here. Now you can see envelope icon is also here. After that, we need the phone icon. So this is the phone field, and icon would be phone. Let me see if it is the desired icon or not. Yeah, it is working. So after that, we need the website. Okay. So let's replace the placeholder and change it to the website. And icon would be the globe. Perfect. And every time if you type, you will see that cross icon would be working independently. So it is working correctly. After that, we have to work on the label icon. So we can make it work in same way like it was working before on the contact page. So if we look at it, you can see here I can pick a label and I can apply a label and I can create a label. If you click on that, then we should be able to create a label. Right now it is not working, but when you click on the create label, then it would load a dialog like this. So we are doing it slightly different than the real Google Contacts app, because you can see actually we are sorry, it is the same thing. But just design is different, little bit different, like we did earlier in the contact page. It is showing a drop down, but we will show the dialog like we did on the contact page. Same thing like this. So to make that possible, I have to copy paste some code from the contact page, go to the contact page and copy the dialog section from there. So this is the dialog. Okay. Now, think about something. Uh, you can see that now the code being repeated. If you copy paste the same code, then that's mean you are you will see that there's nothing different. So you can reuse it if you want by moving it in a separate HTML file like we did for the header and sidebar, or you can copy paste. It's up to you. So for now, let's keep it simple. I'm going to copy paste it in the contact editor, but you can reuse it if you want. So I have pasted it here. Now, if you go back here and if you click on here, you will see that dialog will open again. And it is functional like before. So this thing is also working. And after that, uh, one final thing about this page is that we have to make this camera icon functional. For example, if you click on the camera icon, after you pick something, then it should load that image immediately into this circle. Okay. For that, we have to use we have to get the base 64 from the picture that would be picked from the native image selector. So to save time, I have just opened the code that I am going to reuse from the Stack Overflow. So I will just copy paste this code. So I will explain it after pasting it in the code. It is not complex at all. So go to the common. So this is the function here. Whenever I will pick a file, I will pass that file to this function, and this function would return me the base 64. And base 64 is a specific kind of code that you can use to show the image in your image tag or as the background image. So whenever it would receive a file, we will create a new object instance of file reader that is natively available. You don't need to know about this thing too much. Just don't worry about it. Just if you don't understand, just copy paste it from the GitHub repo that I have shared in the YouTube video in description. But I will just quickly explain it. So here is the file reader, and we have to pass the file to the read as the data URL. After doing that, we have a callback. We have a function .onload. So whenever this file is loaded, then this function would be called, and this function would give us the content of the file that you have picked. But if there is some kind of error, then I have provided a function to the onError property of the reader, and it would call that function for me. So we have to use the content from this function. So my purpose is to return the base 64 from this function whenever the content is received. For that, I am going to wrap it in the promise. I hope that you already have understanding how promises work. If you don't have any understanding how promises work, then I would suggest you to read about the promises first. You should have a little bit knowledge of the promises and the await and async things. I already have used the await and async in this project, I guess. Let me see where I have done that. Uh, Actually, I did not use it async and await. So I would not use it yet here in this task as well. But I would be creating a promise. So I would suggest you what are I would suggest you to learn about what are the promises and how to use the promises and how to create the promises, because I am going to create a custom promise. Because here, when I call the fetch API, it has given me a promise that I was handling with the help of 10. So it was the ready-made promise that we were using, but this time we are making a new promise from scratch. So for that, I'm going to cut it and I would create a new promise. So this is how you can create a new, this is not a complex at all to create a promise. If you can understand from here, then that's good. If you still don't understand, then you can learn from the Google. I can also try to make a video what are promises and how to use them. So right now I'm going to create a new promise, type new promise, call that function constructor, and we have to pass a function to that. And in that, I am going to pass the resolve. Actually, I'm not passing, I am receiving these two parameters. Whenever my function would be called, I would receive these two parameters that I can utilize later. Now I am going to paste my code. Also, I want to return this code. Let's see if I can format this file. I have configured the default formatter of the VS Code. So for this file, so whenever I will save, then it would auto format my file. So that is also a good feature. Anyways, so I have returned a new promise. Whenever you will call it, it would immediately give you a promise, and you have to await, you have to resolve that promise wherever you want to use it to receive the base 64 from that file. So in this function, whenever the content of the file is ready to be used, this function would be called. So I would just get this content and I would call the resolve. And in the resolve, you have to pass the content that you want to use. So if promise is successful, then you have to call the resolve. And if promise is failed, then you have to call the reject function. Okay. And in the reject, you have to pass the error that is occurred. Perfect. Now our get base 64 function is ready. We just want to rename it from file. Okay. All right. After that, I am going back to the file input that we have here. And here I will add a change event on it. On change, I want to call a function on file change. Okay. And here I would pass the file like this. So this keyword has the file in it. Okay. Actually, not file. We have to get the file by this dot files, or maybe this dot current target.files. Let's try if it is correct or not. So I have to create this function first on file change. So I will create that function here. Function on file change and target or maybe files. And I am going to alert it. Let's see if it is a valid thing, then I would get something in the alert. So something I change. Nothing is nothing came in the alert. There is some error that you can see. It is saying that it is reading files that is it is reading files from something that is undefined. That's mean if you come here and it is saying that current target is undefined. So let's try to remove it and see if we have files available on this target. Okay, perfect. So that's mean if you use this start files, that would give you the list of all files that you want to use. We don't want to use all of the we don't have multiple files, so I will just pick one file. So before using it, I want to get one file. Let file is equal to if files dot length is greater than 0, then I want to use the file from the first index, otherwise it would be null. Okay, and after that, if I get the file, then I want to pass that file to my function get base64 from file. So let's create a variable. Let base64 is equal to call this function, and I will pass the file to it, and it would give me the base64. As this would return a promise, that's why you will not receive the base64 like this. You have to use the then to it base64, and I would alert the base64. So whenever base64 is ready, this function would be called because of the resolve function. Because resolve function would be called when your base64 is ready in the onload function. And as soon as my resolve function is called, then it will call this function that I have passed in the then callback. Okay, let's see if that works or not. So yeah, you can see that now it is showing me some strange code that is actually base64, and in the start of this code you can see some kind of information that is saying it is data, and after data it is showing me the image png, and then it is telling me it is the base64. So that's great. Instead of showing it in the alert, I would like to add it as the background image of the avatar. Okay, so let's select it from here, and I would say document.query selector. In that I have avatar, and then I want to add some styles to it. Dot background image would be equal to URL, and in that URL I would like to add the path, and base64 is the path that would be visible. Okay, let's see if that works. No, it did not work. Let me see what's wrong. There is an error in the console. It is saying that background image. So it's saying that styles does not have any styles. So what is wrong? Let's try to understand. So actually the issue was that there is no styles property. Actually it is style property. That is why it was undefined. So let's try it now. And I'm going to pick the picture once again and see. All right, you can see that it is working perfectly fine, but there is one issue. I cannot see most of the part of the picture in this background. So we have to fix that. For that, I have to add some styles to the avatar. So I would go back to this SASS file, and here I would say if there is any background image, then the background size should be covered and background position should be center. Okay. Now you can see that I can see most of the part in it. After that, you can also see that in the original website, the whenever we select a picture, then it replaces the user icon. So in our case, our user icon is still visible. So we have to hide the user icon as well. So for that, uh, maybe we should add a class on avatar. So on avatar, I can, so let's, actually, let's save this avatar in a variable. Let avatar is equal to this. And now I would directly use that variable so that I could reuse it. So here I want to say that on avatar, uh, I can class list. I would add a class that would be uh, image picked. Okay. So whenever you will pick an image, it would add this class, and if this class is added on that, then I would say if this is class on it, then I want to make the user icon hidden. For that, I will say display none. Okay, let's see if that works. So I'm going to pick an image, and you can see that the user icon has been removed. So this way you can pick any picture. Okay, so this is working perfect.